It's amazing how fast the business is coming. We are on it's doubling every year type pace. If you look at it since May, when we launched the tool and made it publicly available, we've created 1,200, actually more than 1,200 audiences for clients using the tool. So that's the great part. If you look at what we've done with the addressable TV players, we now have the ability to target at a household level nearly 50 million households on addressable television. So the great part about that, we could be sitting watching the same program in houses next door to each other. The ad is different based on the demographics of our household. So that's the incredible power of this medium. And all of the other MVPs are realizing they need to get into the space, so they are all working to upgrade their infrastructure. So if you take our Audience Engine tool, which we announced a couple months ago, we are using it as sort of the entry point for us. The beachhead has been addressable television because there's not that many players in that space. But the great part is we work with that advertiser to create their audience, whether it's their first party audience, whether it's our third party data, or whether it's any sort of second party data that either they have the rights to or we have the rights to. We help them, we create that audience, we can push it to addressable television. We can also push it to all of the media partners that we have a direct relationship. So where a user signed in, we know exactly who they are. We've matched more than 25 media partners, including all the big ones, Facebook, Yahoo, Microsoft, AOL, but a lot of other ones, including Pandora and some of the others that we're getting into, smaller guys. But now, with our partnership with Newstar, we can actually then push that same audience to any cookie-enabled channel. So now we can reach 75 plus more major media providers where the synchronization of that audience is done on a cookie level. And so now we can get that extensive reach to truly do some great cross-channel advertising, both desktop, mobile, video.
So what does that mean to brands, and do they, what's the demand from the buy side?
So the best part, I mean, there's some brands who've worked with us forever, so they understand how our third-party data works. So that's great because we can take that, leverage it to the addressable television space, the online digital space, the mobile space. There's other companies who we're helping them unlock the power of their first-party data and make it available to all of these channels. And of course, lastly, we're helping a lot of people understand what they can do when you actually bring second-party data into the mix. And while we have rights and agreements through our data exchange with a bunch of other data providers, there's a lot of first-party data brands that are realizing the power of pulling in data from other companies to be able to offer, to be able to create segments and go after those audiences.
So Jay, not to get too deep in the weeds, but could you explain a little bit about Experian and the data that goes through your pipes, how you manage that? I know there's a lot of issues around privacy and the special protections that you take, but explain a little bit about how this whole world works a little bit.
Exactly, and that's one of the beauties of working with Experian is that the brands know that the data that we have is privacy safe and has come from a trusted source with the correct permissions. We've been at this game for more than 40 years. It started in the catalog and direct mail business, but we buy publicly available data. We have several criteria for that data, and every single element of data has to go what we call our internal process a fair values assessment, where we actually look at it as, did the data source have permission to get this data? Was the user given notice and choice that what this data was going to be used for? Did they have the opportunity to opt out? So that helps enable that everything is privacy safe, that we're getting it. It isn't some random street vendor survey that they collected that data and started using it. It has all of the proper permissions. But then secondly, we work to double and triple source every piece of data so that we have the best accuracy that's physically possible, so that we know that that actually is that person when we create our database.
What are your thoughts about the growth of targeted addressable? And at this point, also in the United States, there's a limited inventory, of course. So, and there's these different ecosystems. I don't know if you call them walled gardens, but the MVPs have their own ways of going about it. What's your thought about the future of addressable TV?
So, it's always going to be one step or one part of the media mix. But the beauty now is that you're able to get true ROI on television advertising that just wasn't available before. Because you can now reach an exact set of households and you can have a holdout group. You can see how many of them were then exposed to that and then how many converted. So again, it's only 50 million households now. That will continue to grow. But again, it's only 2 minutes of every hour of cable inventory. So there's always going to be a cap on it. So there will be limits. But it is the perfect not loss leader, but the perfect entry point into any media mix modeling of your campaign, because you can now understand the results. You can then use that to model how should I do any sort of zone level buy that over indexes. How should I use that to help inform my national buy? Because you now have the ability to do a true test and understand the ROI of that campaign and leverage that into all of the other forms of TV advertising buying.